you only need about 4 things in life. And with that, the daily Count Me Up continues, where I talk for 10 minutes unedited, and after 10 minutes, I just cut it off. So today, you only need 4 things in life. What are those 4 things? 8 hours of sleep every day, 3 liters of water every day, 30 minutes of sunshine/walking, and 1 hug every day. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, of course. However, even just those 4 things, which seem trivial when you really think about it, they are going to get you the most bang for your buck, so to speak, on the biggest ROI, right? And I think 2 of the bigger ones here would be the sunshine and the walking, and the 8 hours of sleep. 3 liters of water should also be totally doable. Now, there's all sorts of, like, we always go back and forth. Well, you know, the 8 glasses of water is not actually true, or it is true, or whatever. It really, I just don't know. At this point, I just don't know. I just know that I feel way better when I drink more water. That's sort of just my conclusion on that. And while yes, you can overdrink on water, it's very hard, right? It's very hard to go absolutely crazy. And if you are overhydrated to a degree, at some point you will gonna crave something salty, and then your like sodium, the sodium levels are gonna balance out via the fact that you're like, I really crave something salty today. So I think you're gonna be fine. And basically, the 3 liters of water does make sense. It could also be 2.5 or 2 liters, whatever the case may be. 8 hours of sleep, I think. This is one of those things where we all know it. We all should strive for it. And yet, there is something there where it's like really hard to get those 8 hours of sleep. But man, it is probably, it should be easy. And the crazy thing is, it says 8 hours and not 6 hours, and it also doesn't say 10 hours. From what I have seen, I'm not unsure, okay? So don't necessarily quote me on this. But from what I've seen, I'm pretty sure to remember that it has worse health outcomes if you sleep more than 8 hours rather than less. Both are very bad, or both are not optimal for, let's say, every day. However, 8 hours seems to be somewhat of a sweet spot. You can, of course, also test this stuff out and just see what happens, basically. But yeah, that 3 liters of water, hydration, basically incredibly important for everything. We're like 70% water, so it makes sense to have a lot of water, you know, that you need to import, especially if it's warmer, especially if you live in a warmer climate, then absolutely more water is better in that case. Then 30 minutes of sunshine and walking. This can be combined, obviously. And I think this is something that I personally, it's so stupid, okay? This is sometimes one of those things where I look back at a time where I was incredibly productive. This was, you know, beginning of the year, and I was just going crazy. I was making progress like nothing else. I was getting up early in the morning. it was crazy good, right? It was amazing. Bam, bam, bam. I was just doing stuff left, right, and center. Awesome. So then I was like, okay, that's pretty nice, but how do I get back to that? And I was talking to a friend, and we were like, it was sort of like, oh, I want to go back to this. And they were like, well, that's all fine and well. However, don't burn yourself out and do so many things. It's like that's a lot of stuff that you're trying to do. And then I was looking at the calendar, because I put all of this in the Google Calendar, and I was like, look actually at these couple of things, because I think that because I said I was feeling really good during the time, even though I was so busy and I was doing so many different things, but I was super productive. And then I was looking at this stuff, and it's like, workout, shower, break, short break, short walk. And then it's like next day, short break, short walk again, journaling, another break, a workout, short break, walk, break, scheduling, and journaling. So the breaks that I took during that time were often associated, let's say, with a walk, sunshine, even journaling, which is pretty useful. So there were these, the breaks were very much catered to not be necessarily all in, let's say, on the PC as well. And I think that one's a huge one, right? When you take a break from your work, it's probably best to actually remove yourself from the PC. It's fine. It's like, I mean, it might not be quite what you would want to do, but maybe you can throw something onto your on your phone or something like that. Even that, I'm not sure if that makes sense, but even just that might be enough to make it different. But I don't know. One thing is definitely a thing though. Remove yourself from the PC when you are taking a break, and don't, if you can help it at all and not use technology during that break, I would think that's probably the best. And if you then take like a 10-minute walk around the block, my God, that would probably be the best. If there's a little bit of sunshine, absolutely amazing. It's we always think, oh, it's gonna have to be these complicated things. It's impossible that it's gonna be these complicated things, right? It's just those things. And then finally, one hug every day. That's probably one of the things that a lot of people have not heard about or thought about. And I think that one might even be the most important, and can be quite, I wouldn't say difficult necessarily, but it could be one of those things where people are like, okay, that's a little bit weird. Well, there is something called touch starvation, right? So human beings, as it doesn't matter how much of an introvert you are, human beings are social creatures. And probably introverts are going to fall on, so when you think about Dunbar's number, right, 150 people we can have social connections with, maybe there's something there where you have introverts being at the lower end, right? So maybe to like only 100 connections or something like that, and then extroverts to like 250. Let's just say for the sake of argument, right? Maybe it's going to be a little bit more, maybe it's going to be a little bit less, but something like that, where there's just so much capacity, or there's only so much capacity. And not only that, there's also the idea of, social interaction taking energy away from you or giving you energy. I don't doubt that an actual, like, complete extrovert gets an incredible amount of energy via sort of social activities. But then think about the following, okay? If you are an introvert, let's say, have you never gotten energy from any social interaction? Was this always draining? Because I don't think that it was. If I talk to a very specific friend about sort of business stuff, I am always jacked up, like I am going crazy. I am high on energy after that, because it always motivates me. So that specific interaction does not seem to drain my energy in the slightest. That's an interesting thing as well. I think that sometimes we tell ourselves stories that make our lives easier instead of making them better. Ooh, write that one down, okay? We tell ourselves stories that make our lives easier, but not better. I think that's huge. Going back to the touch starvation, this is a big one. I mean, there's like several mental health impacts that you can have if you are not, literally, if you're not touched often enough. And this can also be, but like with a pet, okay? And, before the fucking jokers come out of the woodworks and be like, oh, you're not being touched. Oh, yeah, congratulations. You're a human being, and like there's a lot of stuff. It doesn't mean that it has to be sexual in any way, by the way. But just like literally just a hug. And when you have a friend or a family and then you greet them, hug them. Or if you have a pet, petting animals is probably, I would say, I don't know if it's even a replacement. It's just the same thing basically, right? I mean, that's also going to release all of the positive hormones and things like that. So think about this, right? The 4 things that you need: 8 hours of sleep, 3 liters of water, 30 minutes of sunshine and walking every day, and 1 hug every day. I think it's an interesting, it's not an exhaustive list. We could probably add way more things on there. Obviously, relationships are important, healthy diet. Although, when you think about it, right, 1 hug every day sort of points to you have some sort of healthy relationships. And then when you have, when you walk, 30 minutes every day and drink water, that's also going to be healthy diet-ish. So who knows? But yeah, I'm telling you, just those things are always already going to be helpful. Anyway, that's it. And talk to you again tomorrow. Until then.